So it's February. Holy cow. The people side of business, which is obviously why we asked you to talk with us, because you're clearly a people person.
I have a mug that says so. You got me the mug, yes.
So it's perfect. It's fitting to talk about it. And there's all different kinds of things about the people side of business. So whether it's sales or relationship building or your employees or anything like that. So at the beginning of the planning this, Haley and I were talking, you were like, maybe we should get someone in HR, maybe we should get someone in employing and all that stuff. And we were like, that's boring. No one wants to talk about that stuff.
Not all HR people are boring.
But you have so much energy when you're in the space and when you're talking to people and the way that you do your business. So I thought it was really interesting to kind of think about it that side and the way that you build a client base and retain them. And then something you talked about too is the follow-up, which I think is super, super important. So those are the three main things that we're going to head on today is finding the client, the right client for you, keeping that client, building that relationship, and then also the follow-up and the retaining.
Good. Thank you for reiterating that because I forgot what we're talking about today.
Yes. I'll say the outline as we go. If there's any questions on Zoom, feel free to push them in there and we will get to them probably later at the end of it to do questions. And then as people continue, hi there, they continue to trickle in, we can hang out in here and answer any questions afterwards, even after the time's up.
Totally.
Cool.
I love that.
All right, well, let's get started. So we had a little bit of an outline, as much as we could make.
Yes.
So we talked about finding the right clients for you. And I think that's something that Stacey's always instilled in me from being here is not everyone's going to work. Not everyone's going to be a good fit. Not everyone's going to like what you're selling. Not everyone's all the things. So that was hard for me to swallow.
Yes.
Because I'm very much a people pleaser and want everyone to like everything. So it was interesting kind of learning that. How have you navigated that?
It is hard because I too, recovering people pleaser, I just like people and I like, talking to people and learning about them. And when you're first in business, you want all the business all the time because you're like, that's money, client equals money and money is how I pay the bills and that's how I pay employees and that's how you grow, right? Because that's what you're told. And no one tells you that saying no to a client is okay because and we all have them, and I still have them. Yeah. You have those clients that are time suckers, right? You want the easy clients, but how do you get more of those easy clients? And they're not all there. And you have some that are very loyal, but you have to charge them a little extra fee because they take a little more time. So being able to figure out what that is, a lot of it goes with boundaries. I feel like that is something that's a constant work in progress too, is figuring out those boundaries with clients because you get one in and you think it's going to be great. We say at the office all the time, clients will ask us, how long will this project take? Do you have time to be able to do that? I always say, we are faster than you. And no one has proved me wrong yet. I thought somebody was, but they didn't. Everybody wants everything and they want it right now. But then they don't do that. So figuring out what are those pieces that you want with that client. Some of it is, it's like dating, right? So I don't know anything about Tinder or any of those things, but I know you swipe left or right, stuff like that. You look at people, you choose it, and people look great on paper. This works for staffing too, right? People look great on paper. They interview really well. They start out great, and then it crashes or something. So figuring that part out through that dating process, that wooing process with clients kind of thing to figure out who's going to be that good client. And even if you take them on and they're great, and then at some point it goes wrong. Yeah. It's also okay to know when to fire a client, to let them go, get out of, I feel like relationship talk works really good with client pieces too, and knowing that. And it's hard because I think for the pandemic, a lot of people, I know we ran into this with clients, we had some that were doing amazing because of the pandemic. It was really great for their business. And some were doing terrible. I was on an emotional roller coaster because we get so invested with our clients that, we want to help them. That makes us different. We're cheering them on. We want to do that. And, but some can't get past their stuff, and I can't want it for them more than they want it.
Right.
I feel like sometimes I try harder to make their business work than they try, and that's something I'm working on too. I need a therapist for that part, but and it's hard, and then it's really hard to have that breakup because there's potential there, but they can't get past it, and so you have to go, I want to help you, I can help you if we do these things. And so we kind of make the breakup process. I can't break up with people, but I've learned to make a process that basically they break up with me, and that's easier for me.
Them to break up with you.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And I don't have to be that guy.
Right. And I think it is hard too. I mean, I worked in retail. So when you had a new customer, you wanted to wow them and you wanted to make them feel awesome, and they would come back a couple of times, and then they started to be a pain in the ass. And you're like, oh, wow, I've opened up way too many doors for them to feel overly comfortable. I'm not their personal stylist. I have other people that I need to help. So kind of had to rip a Band-Aid off to be like, okay, I gave you too much room, too much slack to walk in, and then you kind of have to reel it back, which is hard.
Totally. And I feel like that goes through cycles too, where there's a client, they're fresh and new, they're the shiny new toy, so you want to help them, so you kind of give them a little bit more than you do with others. And I hate to keep using pandemic, but during the pandemic, a lot of our clients are small businesses or they're restaurants. Things changed instantly. So we had to be there and change. And we weren't doing anything anyway because we weren't allowed to go anywhere, so we might as well work. And we created a terrible situation for a lot of them because we weren't available. So now we're having to retrain them. We're not available. Yeah. So even though we might, I might answer my emails at night, but I use schedule send. So I don't actually send them until the next morning or 2 days later, so they know that I kind of worked on it, but it wasn't instant. Yes, I could do that very quickly, but I also have to retrain for some of that kind of stuff too.
And I think too, in a past event here, you talked about Boomerang. Yeah, speak a little bit on Boomerang and what that does. So it's all through your email inbox.
Yes.
And creating those boundaries for clients.
Yes.
And even probably coworkers or spam or whoever.
No, I need to get Boomerang to pay me because I swear I talk about it a ton. But a lot of them have schedule send. So Gmail has a schedule send. We use Gmail for our workspace email, and it has a schedule send option. So I typically answer emails 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, watching TV shows. Like we're just starting Ozark because I'm really far behind on those kind of things. So I answer my emails then. And so then I put those in, and then I schedule it for the next morning. So my clients don't know I'm doing that. Right. And that can be through Gmail. But when I send out a proposal or something I need to follow up on, because just because I sent it to you doesn't mean you're going to respond. And I don't want to drop the ball on that. Right. And so with Boomerang, you can have it bounce back up to the top of your inbox. So I might send a client a quote and say, hey, let me know if you have any questions. Well, people are busy, we're all busy, so we forget. Or the notification comes through our watch and it marks it as red, but we actually just noticed it. And so it will come back up in a week or 2 weeks, or if I want to check back in a month or something like that. And that has been huge. And I know we're talking about it later, but the follow-up piece, following up wins us more business because people don't follow up. Even jobs, I have, a position open and I've been too busy to look. Well, a lot more resumes came in than I was anticipating. And I haven't had the opportunity to follow up, but there's been a couple of people that followed up with me. Well, they went to the top of my list because they made it easy for me. They made hey, I just wanted to check with you. I think I'd be a great fit. These are my dude, that's what I needed in the person I was hiring. So if you followed up with me, that's a great thing. And I don't know how many times we hear from clients, oh, yes, I've been meaning to call you. I totally forgot. People are just busy. Make it an easy button for them. And, people appreciate that. And it kind of shows, how many
Thinking
clients do
about
you have
you.
that you follow? You have to handhold the whole way too. So, but there is a caveat to that. If you're constantly the one always following up,
Right.
then that is also probably an indicator that the person's not going to get you the stuff you need to do your job to have them as a client. So
Yeah.
that could also be the, okay, I'm always chasing you.
Right.
Friendships are that way too. I always say, people get busy. It happens, but if you're always the one, I guess dating relationship too. If you're always, I'll call you.
Yeah.
You're always one calling. They're never calling back.
Right.
Right. Trigger.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about dating, by the way. So do not take dating relationship advice from me.
Well, I think that's interesting too, giving them a little bit of room, but then also if you don't hear from them, ping them again. And I think too, that might be hard to do with current clients and also new clients. How do you stay on top of keeping all of that organized while building that relationship with all of them? Because you still, even when you get the client, you still have to have that relationship that keeps building. You keep checking in with them, you follow up on what you're doing, and they give you feedback. And then you also have the whole part of finding new clients.
You're stressing me out just talking about it.
It stresses me out. It's hard.
It is hard. And that is part of what we're hiring for right now, because there is a point of, I don't want to be super automated. Even though I live in a world that is very automated, I don't want my client and my colleague connection to be totally automated. But there's a part where I say kind of the exact same thing all the time. So it can. And so, having somebody else or having that system in place where that Boomerang works great. We use a lot of templates, that you can create in your email, Gmail, Outlook, whatever, that have that information. Then I will have a bracketed area that says insert personal item here, so that I can make it more personal too, or something we just talked about. So it's not, this is a robot sending you a message. Because if somebody sends me something like that, I'm going to be less likely to respond. Whereas if it felt like, send it to me, I'm going to be more likely to respond. And so that has been huge in getting responses from most people. I mean, we're dealing a lot with decision makers most times, but we can always tell when we're not dealing with the decision maker, they've got to go to that person. There's just a delay in getting it too. So I think that helps a lot.
You said something too about when you're building that relationship, lunches, finding similar interests as them.
I like lunch.
No. But
I need like walks.
Looking for an investment that you can relate on. Obviously, it sounds very important on the surface, but how important is that when you are retaining your client?
I'm all about relationships. That's my life. I want to do business with people who want to do business with me, not who, I want to be colleagues with people who, it works like a great relationship, and you have to get to know that person. I want the long-term ones. It's a lot easier to keep long-term clients than to constantly be finding new ones. I think it's working because I've been in business 20 years. We're a marketing company. We tell everybody else what to do. We don't do a lot of, I'm lucky I don't have to do a lot of like Google ads to get new customers, Facebook thing. We do a lot of that relationship stuff. I look for people, to partner with. So Michelle Eisner, even though she's not here, she's not on my table today, but we met here, built a relationship. We're in the exact same industry space, selling the same exact services. We should hate each other because we could steal each other's clients very easily. But I love collaboration because Bailey and I do not like writing content. We like designing pretty things, and designing functional things. Michelle's team loves writing content. They don't like the designing of stuff. So we've created this great collaboration. And then it's nice to talk to somebody who's in your world that gets it, that you can talk about those pain in the ass clients. girl, I know,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
stuff. And so it's really good to have that relationship where you can bounce stuff off of, you know, hey, but that person has to be, I mean, Michelle and I are practically the same people too.
Yeah.
So she has great integrity. She has a great follow through. She has a great process. She takes care of her clients in a practical manner like we do. You know, we don't come in with this cookie cutter solution. She doesn't either. So you have to have that piece. And because of that, we stay pretty busy. You know, we have about like ITs were becoming professional freelancers because we have these other companies that send us regular business.
Wow.
And that means a lot to me because if they trust that, and just like referrals, people who send us referrals, if you're getting referrals from somebody, they trust and value you a ton. And we don't pay people for referrals.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe in karma, but I kind of do. You know, if
Yeah.
you give it comes back. And I don't want to track that, honestly.
Right.
That's a whole nother thing. But, you know, and sometimes it works. You know, you and I may never do business together, but you might refer people to me. I might refer people to you.
Yeah.
And it just kind of goes around. And so I feel like that is just huge. If somebody trusts me enough to send their, you know, their friend or their client or whatever, I'd rather take that all day. And that's it's like having 100 salespeople, right? So I don't have to have a salespeople. By the time they come in, they're a warm lead and they're already like, okay, great. Sydney told me I need to call you because you're the best. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll call Sydney later and tell her thanks. And then, you know, you've already sold them pretty much because they've already come across. I'll take that versus, hi, I see you have a website.
Right.
It looks horrible. I should help you. You know, that's no fun.
Yeah, that's just all cold.
Right.
And that's too the beauty of communities like this. Community is as women empowering women. You're around like-minded people. You're around people who want to help each other, whether I might not need your services, but I could know 3 other people who do. And because I have a relationship with you, it's going to be that much easier for them to be like, oh, you know her, you trust her, I can trust her too.
And if we have those conversations as well, you'll know the ones that are a good fit for us and ones that wouldn't be, you know, and then those you would send to somebody else that you know, you know, because if you have access to 5 or 6 web developers, let's say, if you know this person and what they want, what they're really great at, you know, then you send them to this one or having those resources too. Yeah. Because my name is huge to me, as you know, most people in business feel that way. If people come to me asking my opinion of, well, who should I do for this? Which at first I was like, I am not Google. I am not a phone book for anybody who remembers what a phone book is. Like, I am not that kind of thing. Like, look it up. But they're coming to me because they trust me that I'm not going to say, well, you should just use this person. Because I've had far too many where I've referred and it's turned out terrible. And then that person comes back to me like, I can't believe you gave me that person.
Yeah,
you know,
like flip side.
I'm so sorry. So I always tell people, if I'm not referring you, yes, because, you know, I could love people dearly. I have some really great friends, but I would never send business their way. You know, they're great people. Yeah. They're terrible at what they do, you know. So
it's like finding a roommate.
Oh,
you could be my best friend, but I'd never want to live with you.
Yeah. We're same. Yeah, exactly. So that goes both ways. So I always, not that I would tell people, you know, because then I don't want people who are not getting referrals for me to think, oh my God, she must hate me. Right. Just may not be the opportunity.
Right. Just the business thing. Yeah. You kind of led into my next question about the collaboration versus competition. You touched on it a little bit with working with Michelle, but did you seek Michelle? Were you guys seeking collaboration out when that happened? Or no, were you just both kind of open to it and had a conversation and clicked? And do you recommend seeking that out for things that you don't want to do? Because there's a point here where it's like, there are things that you hate doing, although you might have to do them in your business. And are you willing to kind of freelance contract that out?
Yeah. And I think this is different for all people. I was not always a collaborator. I started in the IT world, which is very cutthroat. And so anybody else who was IT, I hated. I didn't know them, but I hated them because, oh my God, they're going to take my client from me or whatever. And I was very much, no, mind my mind. I'm not talking to you about it. I'm not going to share any ideas with you or anything. And then I was part of a community where they were talking about collaboration and the idea of it. And another friend about that's like crazy talk. And I didn't understand it. And then I started to kind of look into it more, and I started to think about it more. I'm kind of collaborating when I send things to my accountant, when I send things to this person in a way. And I'm not good at math. So anything math related needs to go to somebody who's great at that. And then I started to talk, I got into a group with other like graphic designers, and started kind of talking to them a little bit and listening to them, and then finding they weren't wanting to steal business. They weren't wanting to have somebody else like, how do you do this? Or how do you deal with this with a customer? How do you deal with that? And just talking with other people who were in business like I was, but wanted to share information, and it was a sacred space, and there wasn't any, stealing of people. And I was like, the whole idea of there's plenty of work out there for everyone, even when, realtors, there's a bajillion trillion realtors, yet
plenty of houses.
There's plenty of houses to sell, especially right now. So, it's kind of not being afraid of that, or, a lot of people talk about narrowing down the what you do, instead of offering all of these things, offer those few things that you're really, really good at or you like doing. So we don't like writing email content. I don't want to do it, but I found somebody who does and loves it, and I can work on behalf of my client. My client just thinks we're doing it. They're like, you're really good at email. Thank you. And some know and some don't, but it's whatever makes it easier for the client. And some people don't want to, they don't want to have to manage 3 or 4 people if they should have one person that's doing it. So that's where that collaboration, not all marketers, there are some I hold with a 10-foot pole, like, I'll talk to you, but I don't trust you, because not everybody has embraced that either. And I find that when you start talking to people and you find out those people who are more collaborative in nature, like, I'm a business owner, there are things I wish I would have known way back then, that if somebody would have told me. I learn things constantly here. How did I not know that? Like, I feel like I've been doing this forever, but it's the whole, you don't know what you don't know until someone else says it. And even things that I've heard, I come to lots of trainings and I've heard, like, I don't want to go to that. I've heard it 1,000 times, but it hits you at a different time. Like, oh my God, I totally forgot about that. And you kind of bring some of that information back, or you start over with it. So, and collaborating with other people, you can hear those things that, how can you do that? And yes, I'm not willing to change that piece, but okay, I'll change this piece. That sounds great. So I think that kind of works out.
Something that's always stuck with me after the first time that I met you and we talked, and I think I was just asking
something
you.
Good.
No, it's a good thing.
Okay.
I think I was just asking, like, why did you join Rise? What's your draw to here? And you were like, it's so hard to find not just a community, but a group of women who you can still learn from every day. Like, you were going to other events in different places, in different communities, where you were kind of teaching and giving everything that you had. And you were like, well, I'm not finding any value in this. So then you were able to find a community that you can still learn from every day. Obviously, not every event is going to cater to you, but there's still so many things that, like you said, I've learned this, but maybe it didn't resonate right now, or I didn't need it right now. And then months later, you're like, oh, wow. So you're still learning and giving. It's kind of an even thing. So that's similar to collaborating with people.
Exactly.
You know
Or
that
you
you
might
can
sit
write
by the
content.
person that you've not met before and like, okay, this was terrible, but I met this person and that worked out really good.
Yeah.
I've been using, with WW, I've been using, talking about crayons because I used to be a teacher a long time ago, first grade teacher. So I talk about collaboration like crayons. So, you know, you have the 8-pack of crayons, like that's all you're allowed in first grade and second grade, you know. So, and you can color with those. It works great. You can color any scenery kind of stuff and it's wonderful. So that's kind of like when you're at work and you're in your little pod of people. So you have your 8 crayons. But if you get the 16 or 24 pack of crayons, like you can play with some other colors and do some different things. So it's kind of like, all right, you're in your group. If you expand your group a little bit, whether you're in a cube farm and so you get to move out to the floor or other people, maybe you're in, you know, accounting and maybe you go over to the billing side or something like that. And so you get to meet some other people, learn some other things that maybe make your job better. So knowing how the billing comes in, like, oh, you guys are doing it this, you know, if you would just do it this way, make our job a lot easier, you know, and so you find those efficiencies from that collaboration. And then if you like get the 64 pack or 128 pack of crayons, that's like going outside of your business into other groups like this where, you know, it's way more colorful. You know, you get to do a lot more with it. And there's go-to colors you're always going to use. Like I'm a blue person, so I'm always going to use blue. That's my go-to, you know, and that's my steady. But there's colors I might not ever use, you know, like,
but you know they're there.
But they're there in case I needed them and I need to pull it out that one time or something. So I think that kind of, you know, when you think of it that way, you know, I'm fairly extroverted, so I like it. But when I go somewhere where I don't know people, I am the most introverted person. I am like hanging by the wall. I don't, you know, I need a wingman person to like get in there, get going, and then it's okay. But you know, you have to go to those other places. They're terrifying. But if I would have never come here, you know, I came for an event and then I was like, this seems cute. I love the lights. I love the color. And then I came another time like, well, maybe I'll try that. You had a summer special, I think. And I'm like, okay, no commitment, 3 months. I am good with that. And then I tried it and I met some amazing people. And but I think I'm here like 4 years later. And in pandemic years is like 10 years. So.
True. No, I think I love that analogy because, and you could even have the similar people, but they're different shades.
Ooh,
so that you could have someone, 2 different people in the same, they're both in marketing, but one specializes in different things, and you can kind of use those people when you need them.
Totally.
I love that.
I love that. It's all about to a box of first grade crayons. That is my whole words of wisdom there, Kate, that you were looking for. So box of crayons.
So our last thing we wanted to cover was follow-ups. You've mentioned it before a little bit earlier, but how important are they with clients and collaborations? What kind of follow-ups do you find most success in? And how soon after? So you can kind of
that's like dating stuff.
You
know? Like, is it a 3-day rule that you call after?
Call 3 days.
It depends, you know, and it is so different. And it's just a matter of prioritizing is one, you know, because yes, you have the new shiny toy, so you want to respond to that one really quick, but you have, you know, the not so shiny toy over here that, you know, has been sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting, and you need to get to that. So, you know, I'm a color code person. So in my email, I have stars that are color coded. So if I look at something and I kind of triage it, like, okay, that's unimportant, I got to take care of it later, I mark it a yellow star. If it's something that came in and they're like, hey, we need this for our budget meeting, I make it like orange or red, depending on that hierarchy level of how important is it. If I've responded to them, I mark it green, knowing that now it's on their end, it's in their court, and I have to, you know, waiting for them. But then I either use my Boomerang to have it come back to me, or once a week I go through and say, who has not responded to me? And I start at the bottom and work my way up, because those are usually like the ones that, hello, what happened? And it's kind of, I have a couple, and I have a Word document or Google Doc that has like prefab stuff, like, hello, it's your friendly website neighborhood nag, you know, I'm going to keep responding. I know you get busy. Maybe you looked at a stoplight like I did, you know, but until you put a restraining order on me, I'm going to just keep following up. And that usually, it's funny, that one usually gets people to respond because they're like, what? Okay, she's serious, you know, because I've already probably sent 2 other ones. And by that time, it's like, I don't want to be a bother, but I know how it is, you know, and I just play it real with people that I know you get busy. I probably have, you know, 10 things that people are waiting on me for, taxes and the stuff I want to avoid, right? So it's easier to do those other things. And people do that with me. And so I put that out there. So having that kind of stuff, and it depends, you know, I mean, if I was a financial advisor, probably not sending, you know, hello, it's your friendly money nag, you know, coming at you.
I can actually joke that I have a professional degree in nagging.
Oh, do you? Yeah, see, that would totally work, but it makes people respond. You know, it's kind of like adding a late fee onto their invoice. They'll respond if you have the late fee on because, you know, I'll waive a late fee because at least they'll pay, you know. But it's whatever that trigger is to finally get them to see it, you know, trying different times of the day. I never send a follow-up on a Monday. I already flooded with them. You know, sometimes on a Friday, because people are just looking to clear out things. Fridays seem to work really good. You know, late afternoon sometimes, you know, it's just a matter of thinking of that person and thinking of when they might be on things. If it's an accountant, I'm not going to hit them around beginning or end of a month, you know. So just kind of thinking of some of those things to get them to respond. And here's something super secret. The phone calls, they still work. And phone calls get really good follow-up responses. And sometimes it's like, hello, you know,
and they hear your voice and they're like, oh.
Or they're trapped. They're just like, okay, you know what, while you're on the phone, I need that login. Yeah. Just give it to me. It's real quick, and then we can move on. And you're it's the easy button again. Like, I'm on the phone with you anyway. All right, I might as well do it. Now I can mark that off my list. So phone calls, they still work. It's crazy, but that is a good thing. But having the time, I feel like I'm chatty. So if I get on the phone, I know I got 15 minutes for what I say is going to be quick. Or, you know, I feel like Zoom world has made things easier too, because meetings are much shorter because we're not at a coffee shop where it can just keep going on and on and on. And you can't say, okay, well, my 2 o'clock is here. They're walking in right now. They're usually leave a buffer, but you can do it on Zoom. Oh, well, I have a 2 o'clock. I got to get on. And it's like, okay, I get it. And everybody gets off. So I feel like that's more efficient too. I do a lot of, I offer Zoom as meetings instead of the emails and phone calls or whatever. A lot of people still take it as much as, I know, we're all Zoomed out, but it is efficient. It is convenient.
Instead of just going back and forth on emails and other questions come up that you don't think of until after you've sent that email, and then you have to send another one, and it's just kind of a whole thread.
And that's scheduling things. So my Boomerang, I use a ton for scheduling. The amount of time I spend in, does Tuesday at 2 work for you? Oh no, that doesn't work for me. Okay, well, how about Wednesday? Oh, I forgot, not this Wednesday, you know, because they'll give you one thing. So using Calendly or any of those kind of programs, some people don't like it because it seems, this is my calendar, you know, pick a date, but it's way more efficient. I'll say, here are the dates I have available, you know, and I give them usually 5 or 6, and you choose one that will both get invites, and then it's scheduled. I did not realize how much time I was spending in the back and forth of, and then mine sends an email notification like the morning of or the day before, in case, you know, because in the world of, nope, sorry, now my kids are home, you know, or whatever, or, you know, this happened. So it at least allows them to go, oh, yeah, no, I can't make it, or yes, I will be there, or oh, I gotta prepare and get all my stuff together.
Yeah.
Because that'll be the first question I ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So speaking of follow-ups, for the clients that aren't a good fit, or maybe you don't have the space to work with them, or they aren't completely ready for you to take on a project like that, if they aren't prepared enough for you, do you send a follow-up to them?
I send outs. So
Okay.
I give people outs a lot of time, which either makes them decide, oh, she's serious,
Yeah.
you know, or whatever.
Okay.
And we're also very good, you know, we have clients who, like, one right now is a year and a half. We've been working on their second website. They've never launched. They just keep adding more things to it, keep delaying,
Wow.
keep delaying. Then they send us an email this week that says, okay, we want this launched by Friday. Like, we have a planned schedule already.
Right.
And when we went over this in December, we told you. So it was the email of, oh my gosh, I am so excited. We're ready to launch. This is great. Unfortunately, you know, I don't know if we can get it done this week.
Yeah.
You know, we have a pretty full schedule. It's just reminding people we're not just sitting here, small town USA, going, I wish we had something to do today. You know, people think all I do is lunch and network and present at things, but
and their urgency is not your urgency.
Nobody wants to see my social media post of my pile of, you know, emails or whatever. And so we put out that, like, hey, we really want to try, but I don't think we can. And then you find out other people's urgencies are very different. Yeah. And then we also give other people an out where if I'm at the nag thing, like, hey, even to get that process started, say, you know, if now is not a good time, we can put this on hold and get back to it at a time that's like better for you. You know, our schedule is filling up, and, you know, and sometimes I won't say that because I don't want people to think we're so coveted too that they need to fit in with us, but they do. We have somebody else who wants their slot. So it's kind of, maybe this isn't good for you, or I let people, you know, we like to work like this. We try to be as efficient as possible for you. And I don't think maybe we're doing that for you. Let's revisit this maybe in a month and kind of give it that. And then I can follow up with them in a month and say, hey, I promised I said I would revisit this. You know, if now's not a good time, totally get it. You know, world is weird. I can blame loads of things on the pandemic right now, which is a wonderful thing. But it gives them that out, and that's where they get to break up with me, and I don't have to. Like, I'm here and I'm ready for you, but it's not a good time. Go ahead, you're ready. You're good.
Thank you.
Michelle, how, when you are following up with someone who, let's say you had an introductory meeting with them and they were really enthusiastic about your services, and there was something preventing them from doing business with you right in that moment, but it looked like on the horizon, 6 months, 12 months, whatever, not years from now, they'd be able to work with you. So you're staying in touch. At what point do you say, I've dripped on this person enough, I've followed up with them, I think I'm not, like, I need, or literally them not even responding, or responding in a very spotty way?
Yeah. So I do still send out an occasional, like, we don't do email marketing because we hate writing emails. I should have Michelle write us some emails. But I do send a periodic, like, 3 months, I just go in, 6 months, I just go in, I just do a, hey, you know, hope you're getting your French toast supplies for the impending snowmageddon we're about to get. You know, I promise I follow up with you, just checking in, let me know either way. And I just kind of keep it super sterile almost, but just like that touch point. We have an incredible amount of people who come back and go, I talked to you about a website 3 years ago, we're ready to get started on it now. You know, I'm always flirting, like, where have you been? And I'm like, our prices have changed just a slight bit, but you know, we have that rediscussion. And I would think in your world too, that's a ton. You know, you're a long-term relationship builder. I'm not coming going, I have $6 million sitting here, I'd love to see what you can do with that. You know, they're gonna go, let's get to know each other first. So, and that's where that we were going through, we have a new person and we were going through sites we had done. And I thought, oh, we just did this one a couple of months ago. No, it was last year. Like I felt like it had just been last year. That's got to be wrong. We went and checked and sure enough, it had been launched last year. But time just moves super fast. And it's always on your to-do list. Like, I need to make that dentist appointment. I need to make that, I need some new contacts, but it just gets pushed off. And I think, business does too. So I have those little template ones and, I just keep trying. I look back like, okay, which one did I use? Okay, now it's this one, or I use the same stuff, but I add whatever's happening.
So you're able to not automate it because you don't want to be inauthentic, if that's a word.
Right.
But make it more efficient, streamlined.
Yes.
And there's another school of thought that I have a girlfriend who's a business attorney, and she doesn't really believe in what we just talked about, because I also do.
Yeah.
She says, not the right person, not the right time. Throw it back in the seat next,
Right.
kind of thing. And she'll go out and hunt again. And I guess I want to hear your take on this. You're going to spend your effort doing something, right? Do you want to spend your effort following up? Do you want to spend your effort going out and meeting new people? Because we've all met people who do have a need for us now.
Right.
And it's amazing when that happens, because you're like, oh my gosh, I did the hard work to get this referral, yes, but with this person, I have not done the hard work yet.
Right.
I just met them, but they're taking me on right away because they got this extremely strong referral. And then it makes you think, should I be following up with these other people for months or years? It messes with my mind.
Yeah.
Because how many other people are out there that have that pressing need?
Right.
So here's what you think about that.
And some of that kind of depends, because there are people you get that vibe with initially that I'm like, ooh, I feel like, or I'm just super curious about what you do. I want to work with you, so those I will do more of the follow-up, where otherwise I'm like, I feel like you could be a hot mess. So maybe it's okay if I don't follow up with you. So I do have like buckets of those that I might check in with. And then other ones I would go after maybe a little bit more and check in more with that 3 month, 6 month. If somebody was interested enough and we sat together, I feel like that's way more solid. And I don't have time to be constantly, having endless meetings. I'd rather, I need to spend time, the group that I'm not following up with are my existing clients. I need to go back and do some wooing back with them. They already like us, use us, whatever. I'd rather spend my time doing that. Hey, you've had a website for 9 years. You probably need a new one, or let's revisit this, or, spend some time on that kind of stuff, that would be so. Yeah, I don't want to be hunting forever. That person has a drive to want to hunt. So great, do that. That's exhausting to me.
And it may be that following up zaps her energy.
Yes,
Or
exactly.
demoralizes her.
Right.
If I have to follow up with you, then that makes me feel better. We're not at the right time. Whatever.
Right.
Well, it's an endorphin rush when you get that client, or you get that, let's meet. Whereas and we're women, so we make up stories in our head, right? Well, what if they don't like me? What if they don't want me? What if they went with someone else? Like, just answer the email one way or the other,
right.
And so, that's not as fun. Hello, me again. Knock, knock. I'm gonna start sending jokes and see if I get responses that way.
Something that Kate and Stacy have always trained us really well on is, in your follow-up, it doesn't have to be about business at all. It can just be like, hey, you told me about this a couple months ago. I just wanted to check in and see how that's going. How are your kids? Where's your business at? Nothing about us at all. It's more of just that human to human relationship building, nurturing it. And then they're more like, oh, wow, you remembered that. Or, oh, I forgot I even talked to you 3 months ago, but you're thinking about me. So now I'm inclined to talk to you again. And then hopefully business comes from that too.
Right. And that's if you're keeping great notes of that.
Right.
When you meet a ton of people, so you're probably going, which one was it that purple unicorns? Who was that? So having those notes, that's always a great thing, because it's super personal. People want to do business with people, not robots. If they did, all these automated things that are coming into your email saying, you need a new website. We checked your website and it does this, this. They would go with those, overseas people or whatever. So, but they want to do business with people.
Yes.
That they can, see face to face or whatever too.
Yeah. So it is interesting too, though. I think he said people will inquire about you. You'll meet with them. You'll give them all the information. It's a really good conversation. Send a follow-up email and then cricket.
You buy even. It's like,
where did you go?
You want to date with a guy and you're like, I thought we had something. Right. You asked me out.
Yeah. And then poof, you're gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Or tell me what happened so I can fix it for next time.
Right. Right. Or did you go somewhere else?
Yeah.
If you did, I want to know.
Right.
Just
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
And that's probably
all the time.
leaving at the end.
Yeah.
If you don't want to receive emails like this,
Yeah.
please unsubscribe.
Right. Right.
But we don't have it that way. So
And my dad would always say, my dad was my partner, he would always say, if someone is that hard to get, don't let that dissuade you. That means it's very hard for someone to steal it.
Oh,
Excellent point.
That is
Because
a good
we have
point.
all had people where they've done business with us or taken us on for something, and it's easy come, easy go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're, a
Yeah.
month later, a year later, they're on to the next hot thing. So
We had Boomerang clients that they go to because somebody's brother, sisters, nieces, third cousin, twice removed now does websites practically for free. So they go there and then they're like, whoopsie, and then they come back. So I'm always like, not a problem. I'm
Right.
always here, that kind of thing. Because they're like, no, we should have never left you to begin with. I could have told you that, but whatever.
Right.
Sometimes you have to learn the lesson the hard way, right? So but same thing for sure. And I do like what you said about that might not be what feeds them or what drains them too. That's not for everybody. What I do for sure is not. Depends on industries too. So, I'm okay with follow up. Eventually we do get them where they come back 2 and 3 years later, and I'm always like, really? I swear we talked about this a long time ago, but
Right.
okay, yeah.
Right.
So
Well, thank you. We have about 10 minutes left, so we can kind of just hang out in here if there's any other questions. There's nothing. Oh, Celeste. Yeah.
This is not on topic for this talk.
That's
well,
okay.
then that's the way I roll.
Yeah.
I'm a former educator. You're a former educator. Something that's always on my mind and I'm always thinking about are what are the most useful things from teaching that translate into business? Because teachers aren't aware what kind of superhumans they are in the business world. So I would love to know from your perspective, having become a business owner and leader, what are the things from teaching that translated that you're like, wow, teachers really have it going on?
So that is a great question. I used to teach first grade, so I loved it because of you get hugs, you get told you're pretty all the time. Like kids are the best. So therefore I'm a hugger. But one thing I think is, and this was my 2020 word, pivoting. So everybody drink. But being able to pivot, you have to work with the kid who's gifted. You have to work with the kid who's middle of the road. You have to work with the kid who is falling behind, and your kids, if you have 20 kids in your classroom or more, depending on where you're at, they're all so different. Yeah, you might have pockets of them like this. And I think for clients, it's the same way. You have those, oh my gosh, you're so easy. You can just sit here and just run on auto. And then you have these, you're like, okay, we got to work a little bit with you. And then you have these that are, okay, we have to work a lot and we're going to get you to here and you got to cheer them on and you got to do all that stuff. I think that's huge, depending on what industry they go, a teacher would go into. But like in mine, when I'm like with clients a lot, that's been super helpful because I can be empathetic towards, I know you're struggling getting this to me and this is not your wheelhouse and, but you're really great at this kind of stuff. Let me take this off your list of things to do and let's let you shine here. You do your business because you're great at that. Let me do this. And that's where you can have that conversation with people in that teaching thing. And I think teachers can, and they can handle a lot, especially like kudos to all teachers out there. I have never been more excited that when Common Core came out, I was glad I wasn't a teacher anymore, but for sure now, and I'm techie, so I think that would be great, but no. I mean, and teachers are, they're, most of them, like good teachers, they're willing to learn, they're willing to figure it out. And that's business, because you don't have, even if you have a coach, you don't have a coach who can hit all of the pieces, so you've got to be able to learn stuff. You starting a business, you don't necessarily have the accountant, the lawyer, the HR person, you are it, janitor all the way down. So, and I think teachers get that. They're puke, they're being a nurse, they're being the cheerleader, they're being the comforter, they're being the mom, they're doing all the stuff. So yeah, I think teachers, and I know a lot of teachers have gone into business and they kill it because they know how to do all the things, and they're not afraid to ask either, or ask questions, because teachers are a very collaborative group. They're all willing to help each other. Hey, what are you doing on your lesson plan? Oh, I'm doing this. Oh, great. Can I copy it? So totally.
Celeste, what are you doing now, or are you in transition?
No, it was about 10 years ago that I stopped teaching, but my former boss and I became business partners and started our own company in 2020, and we unlock human potential in businesses.
Awesome.
But I always have this little side thing, like, I want to help the teachers.
Right.
If they want to stay in teaching, okay, but if you want to leave, you can't.
There are a lot of
Right,
teachers leaving. I mean, the resumes that we got came from a huge amount of teachers, which I didn't even think of, but I was thinking, for what I needed, a teacher would be great. They can follow up, they can spell, they know how to use grammar, which is incredible.
Right,
And they know how to be personable. They know how I don't want to say all, because there are some bad teachers out there, but most know how to, schmooze the client and
Present.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. Teachers are the fun.
And they never would know until sometimes they don't even know how valuable they are, because they just get beat up all the time.
Emotions too.
And so then they get into business, they're people like, you're a superhuman, and you're like, oh, I am. Yeah, I just thought I was a mediocre fish in a mediocre pond.
Right?
That's because that's all you hear. Teachers are constantly, you're doing it wrong. My kid is not learning. That was the other thing. I had to get out. I'm way too empathetic, which is a great thing, but when I always root for the underdog, and so I had to hold a kid back in first grade, and it killed me. And his mom was so mad. I can't believe we're going back. This is going to be devastating for him. It's so embarrassing. And it wasn't until he was in high school, and she's like, I have to go and apologize to you, because
She apologized?
She apologized to him because she said it was the best thing ever. He was so confident that next year, because he already knew all the material, because it was, he'd been through it. So he had a one up, and he thrived. And I mean, I'm like, I cried when she told me, but I'm like, I had to wait 15 years for that, or 10 years or something. This is instant gratification, which I need to know. I felt terrible for a very long time about holding that kid back. I would see him. I'd see his mom. We lived in a teeny tiny town, so church, you see everybody. So it's like, oh my God, I know she hates me. She's drilling holes in the back of my head. I can feel it, but so
curveball.
No, that's fun.
Any other questions before we wrap up? How much time do we have? If we have,
oh my God,
no,
this is a good question.
we have
Are
3
those
minutes?
questions in there?
It seems like the discussion is very focused on people who are really good at connecting and building relationships. But personally, I'm autistic, so I have a hard time with that in general, but I have just started my company, and I know that this is a requirement and it's necessary, and I love people, don't get me wrong, just not very good at connecting. That's just the way I am.
Yeah.
Are there strategies that you've noticed others who may be in my similar situation that they use to
So
get past that?
yes, no. Because I go into places where I don't know anybody, and I don't want to connect, and so I have to do tricks. And even places where I go where I know some people, I also, if I already know you, like I know you pretty well, I know you pretty well, and you know, getting to know you, but I'm not going to want to talk to these two, or Bailey especially, because I already know them. I want to talk to you two because I don't know you as well, and find out, you know, and maybe there's something there, maybe there's not. So, but approaching people is terrifying, you know, regardless. And I'm fairly extrovert, but what I do is if you comment on somebody's clothing or jewelry or shoes, it's an instant icebreaker, and it's an instant like in. And normally the conversation doesn't stop. Like, you know, I'll go up to somebody like, oh my God, I do not have the confidence to wear those kind of shoes, but I love them. Where did you get them? You know, and she'll go, oh my gosh, I got them at this great sale. And, you know, people will talk about that. And then you can usually find like, oh, where's that store? I've not heard of it. And you can kind of do that unless you get the person who goes, got them at Walmart. And then they walk away and you're like, okay, you're not the person. Moving on to the next one, you know? But typically something like that, or when people talk about, you know, oh my gosh, I love those earrings, you know. And I know it seems very superficial, but it's that in. It's an initial kind of icebreaker part. I like it better than what do you do? Because that also, I hate when people come at me with, what do you do? Because it's that go-to thing, you know. And sometimes it's hard because as women, we're like, I'm a web designer, you know. I'm not just a web designer, you know. I have like 4 businesses. I'm the CEO of the company. You know, so it doesn't always open up to things, whereas this one kind of goes that way. And works a little bit better. And I try to play a game, like, because I don't know who to pick out. So I might, before I go in, go, okay, I'm going to talk to a person who's wearing purple. And then I will seek out the person who's wearing purple. I'll play games,
Right. It's overwhelming when you walk into the room. You're like,
everybody looks unfriendly and mean.
Find a person who.
Yeah. So we need to make a card system like that. You know? Like, okay, so today's card system is, oh, I gotta find somebody.
I have something to add to that. I think personally, because I mean, Michelle's my boss and she's a super people person, and I'm really not. I'm super introverted. But I think like with women empowering women, having like Zoom meetings, like virtual meetings, to like kind of get in the door. So then you see people, you know, online, and when it's your turn to talk, you talk. And then whenever you do go into like an in-person meeting, then you kind of already know the people. Like, oh, I've seen you on our screen, you know, a few times. Well, it's nice to meet you in person. And I feel like that kind of builds a connection where you're not like face to face with them to begin with. And then whenever you are, you kind of already have, you know, a virtual relationship. So then it's easy to start talking in person with them. I find that a lot with, I mean, even meetings we did virtual last year, then when we saw them in person this year, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to see you in person.
about in half.
And then so things you talked about virtually, you're like, well, how did that go for you? It kind of just opens the door to meet them online, and then, you know, just follow up with them.
I think too, if you know, going into a room full of strangers is harder, but if you know the person you're meeting with through, like, you have the inbound lead come in and you know their name, you can look them up, you can do a little research. So like going on their LinkedIn, like, oh, where did they go to school? Do I know anyone that went to that school? What clubs are they involved in? What other things are they involved in? So kind of just asking that questions. One, it makes them feel like, oh wow, you did your research. You kind of looked at my background, which a lot of people do, but some people don't. So they're surprised when you ask them. And two, again, Stacey and Kate have always told me, you want them to be talking. Like 90% of the time. So you ask them 1 or 2 questions and then let them talk the whole time. Because then it makes them feel like everyone wants to talk about themselves. So if you compliment them on their shoes, they're gonna be like, oh wow, and just dump everything on you. So you want them to be talking, then they feel comfortable and they leave that conversation where you really didn't do any work. You ask them maybe 1 or 2 things.
And having like those go-to things. So, you know, people always talk about, I stay away from controversial topics, you know, so I never talk about COVID or, you know, but if you said, you know, did you buy your French toast supplies, you know, before this? Are you a French toast person? You know, it's kind of one of those things that people will kind of talk about and makes it a little easy. And it might evolve into like a grandma's French toast. Does this have anything to do with business? No. And so some people also struggle with it because really talk about French toast, how's that going to get me a client? But it's that process. And then it leads to the, what do you do? What do you offer? How can you help? And then always finishing a conversation with somebody, if you've talked about their business, how can I help you? Like, I know a lot of people. Is there something you're looking for, or is there something I can help you with? People love that too, and just being able to be there and say, I'm looking for a travel agent. Do you know it? And then having that, because then you've also given people like, now they owe you because you have helped them, and now they, want to come back, or people, nobody asks, how are you? Or how can I help you? Everybody is just, how can you help me? This is what I do. This is what I need. This is what I want. And instead it's like, and you're throwing it off yourself, and they're going to just be like,
That's when I reach out to people who I don't know well, I will say to them, I'd love to learn about you, your background, and your business, and what a good introduction looks like to you. And without even having to say anything, they will reciprocate and ask you those questions. And if they don't, cut them from your list because they're self-centered and they're never going to help you. You know what I mean? But it gives you, the smart people know what you're doing, but they respect the way you're doing it.
Right.
The other people who, I'm not saying they're not smart, but they're not maybe savvy, they don't necessarily know what you're doing, and everyone likes their ego stroked, and they feel like you're a collaborator, which you are. So, right?
I guess like it's hard for me because like I am autistic, right? So when people aren't straightforward with me, I don't understand what they want. I'm the not savvy person,
Right.
and I think everything they're saying to me is the truth,
Yes.
which is wrong.
But you just
But I fall for that too. Yeah. I mean,
I'm aware like after I'm done with the interaction.
Okay,
that
wait.
they were just being
Don't be too hard on yourself.
But
Don't do that.
But so like I have a really hard time doing that to other people, even though I know I really do want to make a connection with them. It's being authentic.
It has to come. Yeah.
But
It's your
you can
business.
still think about it as a strategy, but it's also
Yeah.
authentic. And I have that hard time. I don't know. It's that like dissonance in my brain. Like I don't want to manipulate people, but at the same time, I'm not because I'm being authentic.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't go up and say something that wouldn't come across. I wouldn't come and go like, if I hated her shoes, I would not talk about her shoes because it will show on my face.
Yeah.
Like, I really like your shoes, Where'd you get that? So I always find something that I do truly,
Genuinely.
Want to know or like or ask. Yes, it's more of, it gets my voice started in whatever, and then hopefully the conversation goes somewhere else. And it may or it may not. So not coming in with I hope I don't come in with not genuine. Yeah, I can't think of the word.
It's sincere.
Yes, I want to make sure that I do, because I do want to make that connection, have it be very sincere, very real, because people I think would be able to figure out if I'm lying or fake, because I am not good.
Yeah. And I think too, sometimes at those big networking events or whatever it is, you can go up to someone and be like, I'm not good at this.
Yeah.
I'm overwhelmed.
Or go to a
Have
speed
you been to one of
networking
these
thing.
before? Yeah.
Speed networking is good. When we just did it here,
Yeah.
like 2 months ago, you don't have to think of that stuff because
Yeah.
you're in a room and there's like 15 and you just hop and you're like, hi, my name is,
Yeah.
I do this, so it's not about that part. But then from that, you instantly will mesh with somebody like, oh, we need to talk. I think
Yeah.
we could do stuff together. And out of a room of 15, maybe you have 1 or 2, and that's great. And it's kind of then it's not on you because you just have to bounce from person to person and say, this is my name, this is what I do. So that might be something to start with because it could help build some of those skills then too that, would come out just very straightforward. You don't have to come up with any fluff.
Yeah.
Do you have, what is your business? I want to echo Celeste.
Yeah.
Data analytics consulting for smaller businesses. So not big corporations, but like less than 20 employees. They've been in business for 1 year.
Okay. that answer was brilliant. I know exactly what you do. I know you have a niche. I know who you can serve. I cut out all these other people in my mind that I wouldn't introduce you, and I have. So that was brilliant. I don't know if you've rehearsed that a million times. Smooth as silk.
Yeah.
For someone who's a new business owner. So kudos for you. Do you have? I'm just curious. I'm gonna nitpick. Did you RSVP to this event?
I did.
Are you in the list? What is your name? I was late. I didn't get to meet you. Sable.
We didn't meet anybody.
I know, we didn't do any intro, so we can do that now too.
What I was gonna say is a lot of times I get frustrated. I'll meet somebody here and then I can't follow up with them
Yeah.
because either they didn't RSVP or it just says their name and I don't know what they do.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, well, I can't refer you to anybody or connect you with
Sure.
anybody because I don't know what to do. So do you have a fleshed out
Profile.
here you are.
And Rise,
Beautiful photo.
I do not have a fleshed out profile at Rise.
Okay, you don't. So I would push you, please, flesh this sucker out, especially if you feel like, connecting with people one-on-one in a huge event or anywhere is not like your forte, not your biggest strength.
Yeah.
Use the digital thing, man. I mean, this
Yeah.
is like, right?
Yeah.
And this is like a super safe space. I've not met anybody here that's ever been like mean or rude and not willing to do that. So I think, everybody, I feel like we're all kind of on a similar playing field, even though there's all sorts of levels here. Everybody, and we need to get the happy hours going
I
again.
know.
Because I feel like
Yell at
that was,
Stacey.
okay. Stacey, if you're there, we need to get the happy hours going
Those
again.
of us who are comfortable will come.
Yeah.
And those who are not can wait until
Yeah.
they're comfortable.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a small group than have no event.
Right.
I
Yeah.
can't say myself.
I agree, because I feel like those, not everybody had to talk. So there's been times when I've gone to those and I've just like, I've not been in the mood, so I just didn't feel it. But it was still great to kind of get to hear from other people or what they do, because it's just around that little kitchen island.
Mhm.
So you're behind something,
Yeah.
it's a very safe zone.
Yeah.
I really like it. And then there's little groups that will go off. So, and everybody's usually, they're happy anyway, because it's after work and
Yeah.
there's wine and,
Yeah.
so it's very
It's
chill.
LinkedIn. You need to do your rise, okay?
Yeah.
She's studying.
I gotta check mine out. I don't know what I called out here.
Right, me too. Jeez.
We all have homework now.
Yes, exactly. Well, Michelle, thank you so much. This was an awesome conversation, especially starting out February. Still can't believe that it's February. Crazy, but this was fabulous. It will be recorded, so if you want to go back and listen to it again, it'll be on Rise Digital. And then we have someone speaking in Denver next Wednesday, same kind of event, Fireside Chat, again, people side of business. It'll be through Zoom for us, also recorded, so make sure you RSVP or watch it later. But yeah,
Sweet.
that's it. Thank you so much.